If you're looking for a podcast that packs in sound property advice, as well as offering you an insight into making the world of property effective and ultimately work for you, you're in the right place. Hosted by ArshEllahi, the original property rebel. He's written an Amazon bestseller, created the Property Investor app, the UK's first, and is an experienced property mentor. More importantly, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of The Property Rebel with your host ArshEllahi. And today's session is all about how to get your first investment property. Now, it's a question that lots of people have been asking me to do. They've been saying, can you please do a podcast on this? So here we have it. So where do we begin with this? If you're completely new to property and you're looking and you're itching to get your first property, I'm going to give you some quick fire tips as to what you should be looking for, the pitfalls to avoid, and more importantly, how you should be moving this forward. Now, tip number one, I would say, is to calculate what is your budget. So you're looking at how much physical cash have you got to invest in property. The reason why I say that is because the money that you're going to spend is also going to be able to determine the kind of property that you're going to buy and the location of the property. Now, just give me a brief example. If you've got £25,000 that you're prepared to spend on a property that acts towards a deposit and potentially towards the legal costs and the stamp duty, etc., you've got to bear in mind that approximately 5,000 of that is going to go towards buying costs. So that could be solicitors' costs, it could be stamp duty, it could be other little bits and pieces like searches, etc. So that means that in reality, you've actually only got £20,000 to spend. Now, you've got to use that as a 25% deposit, which means that the other 75% is going to come from a bank or a mortgage company. So 25%, that's going to act as 25%. So times that by another 3. That means that in essence, your whole purchase price is around £80,000. Now, if you're based in London, which lots of you are, you're not going to get a fat lot for £80,000. So therefore, you're going to have to look further afield. So that £80,000, you're going to have to see where will that work for you. Will it work for you in Milton Keynes? I very much doubt it. We go slightly further up north. Is it going to work for you in Birmingham? Potentially, it could do in certain areas. Will it work for you in Stoke? Will it work for you in Manchester? Will it work for you in Liverpool? Will it work for you in Leeds? Will it start working for you towards Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough? And these are things that you have to take into consideration. Now, my rule is that you invest down south for capital appreciation and you invest up north for cash flow. So you've got to really understand what is your motivation for investing. Are you looking for that long-term capital growth or are you looking for cash flow? If it's cash flow, you go up north and you're going to get a lot more buck for your money. Sorry, a lot more property for your money. As you know, this is a one-take show. So if you're looking for cash flow, I would suggest going up north. Now, that does mean that you're investing away from home, which means that you've got to make sure that you've got the right power team, and that's a paraphrased power team, that's going to be able to help you along the way. So when you're investing away, if something goes wrong, you've got someone there that's going to be able to help you. So have you got a competent letting agent? Are you going to have a maintenance team? Are you going to have a builder, a plumber, electrician? Are these people going to be able to assist you going forward so that you don't start getting all the calls, so that you start becoming a busy person? So these are things to take into consideration, especially if you're looking to get involved in property, because there will be times where the boiler is not working. There will be times where you get a leaky tap. There will be times where the tenant has run off. There will be times where there's been some damage to the property. There will be times where the property is empty. And by putting all the people in place from the outset, that makes your journey a lot easier. So if something happens, if the boiler goes, you could say, well, in actual fact, okay, let's call Bob the plumber, and he'll go out and he'll do it straight away. So I've got a whole group of people that I've got so that if something happens, I can call on them. I've got a handyman. I've got people who are literally people that will literally go and clear a house out and take it all to the tip. I've got electricians, I've got builders, I've got plumbers, you name it. I've got every single trade so that if something happens or if there's an eventuality or something that happens, I've got the person to call. So first thing I would say to you is your budget determines where you buy. Now, if you've got a small budget, I hate to say it, but you're not going to be able to buy a mansion on mid-terrace money. So this is what you've got to take into consideration. If you're spending approximately £80,000, you've got to take into consideration that you're going to be buying a flat or mid-terrace at best. You're not going to end up buying, 3-bed semi-detached or detached houses. So there's got to be a bit of realization as to what you're going to be buying. More importantly, the type of property that you buy will also attract a certain kind of tenant type as well. So take that into consideration. It's rare that you will find families living in flats, or if they do live in flats, they won't be there for a long period of time. It may just be a stopgap. Now, if you're starting to buy mid-terrace properties or semi-detached houses, these are what I would consider safe investment opportunities. And the reason being is that I've got mid-terrace houses and I've got semi-detached houses, and I find that you find the right family and you buy the property in the right location, that you'll have a family there for life. Now, when I'm buying single lets, a key tip for me, or should I say a golden tip for you, is to try and locate them around schools. Now, just to give you an example, anything around a primary school, anything around a secondary school will be absolutely golden. And the reason why I say that is because if a family is looking to move into the area because their kid is moving or going to that school, that child is going to be at that school for minimum 3, 4 or 5 years, which means that that family, providing that you treat them right, providing that you keep the property up to order, providing they pay the rent, you've got a family there for 5 years, which means no voids, hopefully no bad debt, etc. So I always treat it so that you're going to have a family there for a long period of time. So all my single lets are around primary schools, secondary schools, and it works really well. The families that are there, the kids, you get to become friends with some of your tenants and you get to see their families grow up. One of the families that live in one of my single lets, in actual fact, has been there the best part of 20 odd years. So they can treat you extremely well. The one thing I will say is that with single lets, they don't produce the best amount of cash flow, just purely because it's let out to one family, so it's going to only produce a certain amount of income. If you are looking to go down the HMO market, you may struggle as a first-time investment property buyer, because HMO lenders or mortgage companies that lend on HMOs, they really want to see people who have got a level of experience. So they want to see that you've already got some single lets in the background, or you've got some properties that you've been working towards, and now the HMO is the next step forward for you. So that's just something to take into consideration. I should say that there are ways around it. You can buy a HMO with a bridging finance. So bridging finance is a very short term finance. So you can buy it with a bridge, and then after 6 months you can refinance onto a traditional mortgage, and that way you can show the mortgage company that in actual fact, yes, I have got experience because I've already owned it for 6 months. I've been running it successfully for 6 months. Therefore, I'm now a HMO landlord. So that's a little tip for you. Not many people know that, by the way. So going back to single lets. First of all, budget is one thing. Location, your budget will determine the location. So if you're now starting to go up north, as I said, you need to get your power team in place. You need to make sure that everyone's in place so that you're not going to get harassed by tenants and you're not going to get calls out in the middle of the night. Now, when you go to location, we looked at different styles of properties. We're looking at single lets. When we're looking at single lets, we're looking predominantly flats, we're looking at mid-terrace, and we're looking at semi-detached. Semi-detached, admittedly, are the ones that probably work the best. 3-bed semi-detached, preferably with a driveway. Now, unfortunately, this again comes down to the budget. In Wolverhampton, you can't get a 3-bed semi-detached with a driveway for less than £150,000. So in that respect, you've got to make sure that you've got a budget, you've got a deposit of the best part of £40,000 plus all your buying costs, which means that in reality, you need around £50,000. But you've also got to think, from that point of view, is that going to increase slightly in value over the period of time? Now, when I look to invest, I look to invest not only for the next 6 months, but I'm looking for something for the next 20 to 25 years, because that's the term of the mortgage product that you're taking out. So you're investing for a long term. So make sure that the property that you're buying is also going to stand the test of time over the next 20 to 25 years. Now, I'm going to give you a few tips here. I've got a great saying that the calculator never lies. What cannot speak cannot lie. And the reason why I say that is because I'll get so many people that approach me and say, oh, okay, I've got this deal and it's a great deal and it's a great deal. It's going to do this, that and the other. And when I look at their calculator, I look at their spreadsheet, I say, but guys, you haven't taken into consideration potentially some contingency costs for voids, bad debt, management, other costs that can be associated. So for argument's sake, selective licensing, other licenses that may come up. And all they've done, they've worked on best case scenario. I'm going to buy a house. It's going to produce £500 a month, which is £6,000 a year. The mortgage is £200 a month, which means that I'm going to make £300 a month cash flow. £300 a month is equivalent to £3,600 per annum. And they're thinking, yeah, that property is going to make £3,600. The reality is that it's not, because for the first 12 months, you're going to get some voids. You've got to put in contingency for maintenance. You've got to put in contingency for letting agents. So I'm just going to jot some numbers down here. £500 a month, 10% plus VAT of that is management, so that's £60 a month. Then you've got your mortgage, which we've said is around £200 a month. Then you put in 10% of that rent coming in for contingency, so that's £50 a month. Are you going to put anything for bad debt as a contingency? Again, you could put another 10% of that, so that's £50 a month. And then are you going to put in anything for potentially some maintenance? I don't know. Again, you could put another £100 a month in there for there. So straight away, your mortgage plus all your costs, 3, 4, 460. So in actual fact, once you put all that in, now I appreciate I've loaded it with cost. I've been quite pessimistic with it. So I've said that this could happen, but this is the worst case scenario. So I think worst case scenario, if it breaks even, and I know that sounds really bad, no one goes into property to break even, but there will be scenarios where sometimes over a year, the property would have just about made enough money to break even, especially on single lets, because you're on a limited amount of cash flow that the property can produce. Now, my next point that I'm going to say is don't let your emotions play with you. When we say that, invest with your head, not with your heart. I see so many people that go and get emotionally attached to the property. I'm not emotionally attached to any of the properties that I've got. I invest with my head, I invest with the spreadsheet, I invest with the calculator. If it doesn't work on paper, guess what? I'm not buying it. It really is as simple as that. By the time I've done my spreadsheet analysis, by the time I've done all my research on the area. Now, when I talk about research, I talk about speaking to the people on the ground, by speaking to the letting agents in the area, asking how many properties of the same type have they already got to let. Now, if there's, let's just say that you bought a house in County Durham, mid-terrace house, you go on Rightmove and on that street there's already 5 others to let. What's that kind of telling you about the area? That is probably slightly tougher to rent than some of the other areas. So do you want to be another statistic? Do you want to be another property on that agent's book where every month it's literally going to be, okay, sorry, Mr. Smith, unfortunately your property's not been let. We had some inquiries, but no one's followed through. So it's really interesting that it's really important that you do your research from the outset. Speak to letting agents, speak to estate agents. Now, estate agents naturally will try and sell the property to you. So they're going to say that naturally the property is in a great area, it's got great demand. You need to literally do your own research on that. Speak to letting agents. Also, potentially put a dummy ad up on places like Gumtree, on Spare Room, put it up on Open Rent. They're completely free for you to do that. See how many inquiries you start taking. Remember, you're not acting as the letting agent or anything like that. You're literally just trying to see how many times does your phone ring within the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even a month. You can do this whilst you're buying the property. If no one calls, that's kind of a telltale sign, almost like a red cross to think, hang on, if I'm buying this property, does this mean that I'm going to end up having no tenants in it for the duration of whilst I'm letting it? You've got to really think about this when you're purchasing a property. No one wants to make a loss on their property. More importantly, the longer that property is vacant, the more the chance that it could get vandalized, the more chance that it could get damaged. And because you don't live close to it, and again, this all dependent on your budget, chances are that you're going to have to keep going running back up and down the motorway to go and see how this property is performing. Now it's starting to become a bit of a pain. So that's where that's where I'd say you don't want to be. You've got to make sure that you've got the right people in place and you've got the right properties so that should anything happen, you're in a position where you don't keep running up and down the motorway. Now, my portfolio, believe it or not, is actually half an hour's distance from Wolverhampton. So I don't really invest anywhere outside of a half an hour radius of Wolverhampton. So should anything happen, I know I can be there within half an hour. Now, half an hour from Wolverhampton can take me towards Birmingham, can take me towards Sandwell, Walsall, out towards Telford. We don't go out as far as Stoke. So it pretty much covers 10 different boroughs. So I've got properties in most of these locations. And in that respect, if something happens, I know that me or one of my team can get there quite quickly. And I've built up decent people in the areas so that should anything happen, it's not me that's going out to it, it's them. So I'm trying to work smart. I'm trying not to work hard. And there will be times when you first start that you will get it wrong. When I say you will get it wrong, there'll be times where it feels hard and you think, well, why have I bothered? But think about it. You're doing this for the next 25 years. You're doing this so that when you retire, you've got something to leave over for your kids. So that kind of, I'm hoping I've given you enough tips there as to how to get started in your first investment property. The one thing I will say is don't rush in. Just because you've had some money in the bank or you've had some money come in and you think, oh, okay, I've got to spend this. Take some time, speak to people, speak to other investors in the area. And this could be a tip actually. Most areas have a landlord's forum, whether this be on Facebook, whether it be a website, or even when you can go to local authority and there may be an RLA, Residential Landlords Association, or NLA, which is National Landlords Association. By the time we're recording, these two have actually merged. I can't remember the name of the actual merging company, but they've actually got landlords meetings. So it could be that you spend some time by speaking and going to one of those meetings and seeing what other concerns that some of these landlords have had. Have they had large void periods? Have they had issues where tenants have caused damage to the property? Has it been a worthwhile investment for them? More importantly, ask the question, would they invest there again? You never know, you might end up buying one of their properties off them, and that's another good way of sourcing property, by the way. So there's lots of ways that you can actually do the research. Don't dive straight in, because you dive straight in and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to make money straight away, that may actually cost you money. And more importantly, that may actually start to become a pain when you come across all the issues. So guys, on that note, hopefully I've given you some golden nuggets there, something for you to think about. As always, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel which has got the best part of 200 videos on there. Feel free to go and find me by searching ArshEllahi and subscribe to the channel. Please do so. Finally, as I say always, please feel free to download the Property Investor app. It's the UK's first property investment platform where we showcase all different kinds of deals. So below market value deals, HMO deals, lease option deals, rent to rent deals, development deals, service accommodation, you name it, we've got it all there. To do that, all you got to do is go to the App Store on your smartphone and type in Property Investor. So whether that's iOS or Android, or alternatively, you can go to propertyinvestorapp.co.uk. On that note, guys, I wish you all the very best in your property journey, and I wish you all to remain safe, and I will speak to you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
The large majority of people make a positive change if they take immediate action. So act now. Download the Property Investor app and join Arsh on his social media channels to excel your property journey.